just a disembodied voice. My name is Ray Ward. I'm the director of the Wolfman Center. Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Jerry Zurich, co-director of, or co-sponsor of Catholic Relief Services Ambassadors, which is the club that's hosting this event tonight. You see many of the members here in front of you and also in the room. Catholic Relief Service Ambassadors, CRS Ambassadors, is a group on campus that represents one chapter of many that are connected with the international development arm of the Catholic Church. You don't have to be Catholic to be involved in CRS Ambassadors. You don't have to be religious of any kind, but we do hope that you care about what we're calling tonight our one human family. That we're all part of an extended family on this earth, and that entails the responsibility to care for one another. The thing that we're zooming in on tonight is the theme of migration and finding refuge. We're going to hear from 5 students at Cabrini about their own experiences with that, whether firsthand or with their family. Always with the expectation that we're not just doing this to learn more about it, but we're learning more about it to then make things better for the people around us. So welcome tonight. Thank you for being here. This is the second of this sort of panel that I've seen at Cabrini. It's always a very moving experience. I would encourage you to come to these conversations with an open heart. Listen to the experiences that people are sharing. And if you've got questions or comments or ideas, let's share them respectfully in a way that we're collaborating together on something better. So welcome. I'm going to hand it over to Chloe, who's going to introduce our guest.
Hi, I'm Chloe. So tonight we'll be having Leo, sorry, I'm blanking, so I'm a little nervous. Leo, Pooja, Gabby, Meredith, and Eric, they'll be sharing their stories. But before they do that, I want to kind of start off by kind of giving a difference of what an immigrant and a refugee is. And so an immigrant is someone who is coming to live in a foreign country. Immigrants come for many different reasons. And a refugee is a person who is forced to leave their country to escape war, persecution, or human rights. And so tonight the panel is about kind of bringing everyone together because recently there has been Afghan refugees coming through the Philadelphia airport, and so I want to give a little bit of background about that as well. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So there's 3,500 and more Afghan refugees being settled around the country, but arriving through the Philadelphia airport. But about 300 will stay around in this area. So the reason they're leaving is because in August 2021, the Taliban took over Afghanistan, and they took away the rights of women and young girls with education and working. And so they had over 20 years of freedom just taken from them. And so they're escaping those lack of opportunities and resources to be able to find and kind of improve the lives of not only themselves but their children. And also Afghan refugees are fleeing because of conflict, poverty, and lack of opportunities and resources. So my finishing statement is Mother Cabrini is the patron of immigrants. So immigrants and refugees had a special place in her heart. Cabrini University welcomes immigrants and refugees, and we are fortunate today to have with us 5 fellow students who will share their stories of their families who came here for safety and opportunity. And so starting tonight, we'll have Leo, Pooja, Gabby, Meredith, and Eric. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Leo. I'm a senior Digicom and social media major, and I'm also the president of CRS. I'm not a first-hand immigrant, but my family migrated to the U.S. and they are originally from Lebanon, which is in the Middle East, for those of you who don't know. And they migrated here because of war and political violence, and it was just an unsafe living situation over there. So they migrated here with their family at a young age, I think around 17, 18 years old. Had the opportunity to go to college, learn the language, and learn the culture of the United States. And today, my family was able to build a good opportunity for not only me and my siblings, but also for themselves and their families back home. And were able to just build a better life and have their own businesses today. So, also over to Pooja.
Hi everyone, I'm Pooja. I am a junior here. I'm majoring in international business. So I was born as a refugee. My parents and grandparents, they're originally from Bhutan. For those of you who don't know where that is, that's like in between Nepal and India. So they had everything there, their houses, pets, land, everything, because they were like, they grew up there, they were born there. But then Bhutan's government did something called ethnic cleansing, and ethnic cleansing is when you purposely or forcefully remove a group of people due to their ethnic or their religious belief. So that's what happened to my parents and grandparents. So they were forcefully, they had to move out of Bhutan. They had to flee to Nepal, and that's where they had to live for 20 years. And that's where I was born, in a refugee camp in Nepal. And I was 11 when I came here. So the United States accepted us. That's so they could Nepal never really gave us a citizenship, so we never really had an identity. I don't believe we had a citizenship in Bhutan as well, but then the United States did give us an identity. We are a citizen here, so we struggled so much at the very beginning, just learning the norms and the culture and everything like that. Not having a car, not knowing the language, not being able to know anyone because we had families in other states and in India. So we didn't know anyone here. We had to start from the very beginning. A lot of struggles, but I'm not gonna dive into that because I'm probably gonna start crying. But yeah, I was born as a refugee, and that's always gonna stay with me. But there's a lot of struggles that we had to face as a refugee. So I want all of you to know that a lot of refugees and immigrants don't really come to another country to because they want to, but sometimes they're forced into coming here. So I just really want all of you to know that. And then most of us aren't here to take away your opportunities or your jobs. So yeah. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabriela. I am a junior majoring in psychology. I came here to the US when I was 15. I was a sophomore in high school. We came here because of education purposes. We didn't really have a really good university in Indonesia, so a lot of Indonesian go to abroad to go to college, but my family didn't really have the money to do that. So my parents were thinking to move to other countries so me and my sister can get a better education and opportunities in the future. So that's about it, honestly. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Jared. I'm a sophomore here at Cabrini in a film studies major. My family and I migrated from the Dominican Republic about 5 years ago when the economic instability of my country became unbearable. And around 2007, there was an economic crisis in the DR, and the job opportunities decreased, and the poverty of the country really was escalating pretty quickly. Even so that the middle class and the low class fused together, and there was no middle class for about 10 years in DR. The cost of living were surpassing the household income for most of the families. So when that happens, it becomes really hard to support your family. So that forces you into looking for new opportunities outside of the country to kind of be able to support your family. And coming to the United States really gave my family the financial stability that they were looking for, but also gave me the opportunity to pursue a higher education, which I wasn't going to be able to do if I stay there. So that's basically about it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you. I would like to first thank everyone for coming tonight. And my name is Monetta. I'm a junior here at Cabrini studying business management. And my story begins with my grandma. She had 9 kids. It was 6 men and 3 with my mom and my aunt. So their story, our immigration story begins maybe like 6 out of all the 8 people that were born came here to the U.S. maybe like 25 years ago when they were like in their teens. And at that time, there was literally like no other Hispanics. And they all settled here in Philadelphia. And like Philly now, if you go to Philly, there's like Hispanic stores around the corner. You see a lot of Hispanics. You see the churches in Spanish too. But when my parents came, literally there was no Hispanics at that time. They faced like a lot of like the language barriers and everything. They had kids here too, but my mom didn't come till maybe I was like 2 years old. So I was born in Mexico. My parents came here first. They were providing me money over there, but then my mom missed me, so she went back and got me. Came into the U.S. at the age of 4. When I was young, I literally did not know one single word of Spanish. I mean English. I started pre-K here too. Basically, like, I lived here all my life. I call like the United States my home. Call it the language barrier, the culture. There were like all challenges I had to face, but got through it. So I'm also first generation in my family. Applying to college was so difficult. I didn't even know what FAFSA was. Didn't know like loans. Didn't know about nothing. But thankfully, like I went to like a good high school that helped me like basically to receive almost a full scholarship here at Cabrini. So I was grateful for that. I'm on my path to citizenship too. Almost there. But honestly, like speaking from my experience, if it wasn't from my family and like the business they started here in the United States, and like they were very successful with it, that it low-key inspired me. That's why like I'm a business major too. But from my point of view, like I grew up also with like a lot of kids with like immigrants and stuff like that, and I feel very fortunate because maybe I'm probably like the only one that's like in college and with like receiving like an education. And like now that I see them, they're like, sometimes even like when I tell my story that like that I'm not from here, people are like surprised. They're like, oh, your language is like really well, like you're very educated, you look like you were born here. That's what they say. So from my point of view, I just like I'm very thankful that I got the opportunity to like be in college, because I know so many people that literally will do anything to go to college, but they can't because of like, since they're born in another country, they get charged. Sometimes they get charged more than the actual price of the actual tuition. They get charged like as international students, and then they can't take out loans and stuff like that. So, So from my experience, I'm really thankful that like I was put in a good position to attend college and like be first generation and maybe like better myself. So that's my story.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question for the panel. What has it been like for your family to adapt to being in the U.S.?
Okay, I'll start. So like I've mentioned in my story, it has been probably one of the most difficult things, not just for me, but like especially for my mom. First off, she's a single mom, and like on top of that, not knowing the language. We didn't have a car. She didn't have a driver's license, obviously, like she was coming in like with nothing, just 4 kids. We didn't have anyone here who could like take us to places. My mom had to take public transportation. I'll tell you like one little story. It's not funny, but no, I just say it's funny. In school, so I was in 5th grade when I came here, and I didn't know anything. All I knew was like hi, hello, like just the very basic, and I had to use the restroom really bad. And I'm like trying to communicate with my teacher verbally, and she won't understand what I'm saying like at all. I'm like, when I use the bathroom, she won't get it like at all, and I had to like write it in a piece of paper that I wanted to use the bathroom. Yeah, it was that bad. What else? It's a struggle, a really bad struggle, and I feel like many of us, I know we hear a lot of stories and we don't take it within us, and I'm not gonna say like everyone, but most of us, like we hear things and we just like let go of it, but this is what I have dealt with, this is my past, and like I said, I'm always gonna take it, but I'm not gonna dive into like details, because like I said, I get emotional, because this is something I have like lived with, dealt with. My brother, when he graduated from high school, we didn't even know where his school was. And when at his graduation ceremony, no one went. Like, we don't even have a single picture of him from his graduation ceremony. And he still talks about it, like, you know, he gets upset, but like, it's not really our fault. Like, we didn't know how to get there. We didn't have a car. So, yeah, I'm gonna end there.
I guess I can touch on the topic. When my parents came here, my mom came here at 11 years old and my dad came here when he was 18. They both came here not knowing the language and not knowing the culture of this country. And in college and in high school, they got bullied often because there was a language barrier between their classmates, and they looked different than their classmates, and they acted different, and they were just from a different background, so they were always treated differently coming here. But now they have built themselves up to kind of like Eric mentioned, like having a successful business and kind of learning the culture and learning the language and everything here. So they were able to use what they didn't have or use like their own resources to kind of help themselves live a better life. And then that also kind of gave us a better life, because even though I was born here, like I went to a majority all-white high school, and it kind of felt like a group thinking where no one really knew what like the Middle East was, and no one knew of like people from different backgrounds. So even like when I was younger, I wasn't really bullied, but people just like weren't understanding where we were coming from or where our background was. So there was always like a miscommunication or misunderstanding about like different cultures and different religions. If you want.
I can relate to her too. Literally, like I was saying, like all my uncles came at a young age. They probably were like in their late 18s, 19s. They didn't attend like high school or anything because they didn't know they didn't know. So they started their own business. First, they got a job for like a year or two, and then they all decided to like start two businesses. And it took at first, you know, it was like they weren't making that much money, but over the time they became like really successful with it. But that allowed me to go to like all Catholic private school like all my entire life. So I relate literally to her. Like I wasn't bullied. I was literally fortunate to literally attend like elementary school, high school, and even like college right now. So for my family, they like struggled a lot. Like they didn't even know one word of English. Sometimes they didn't even know like where to buy clothes, where to get food. Same thing, transportation. Sometimes like, they didn't have a car the first couple of years. So, but like Philly is kind of like small, so you know you can walk to get to like Walmart. You can walk to school, but it's small. But you know you don't really need a car in Philly, to be honest. You know, it's like the transportation system is like really good. But my family, like my uncles and everyone, they really did struggle. But because of their struggles, it's what like led me and like my other cousins to like have like the education that we're getting right now. So that's why like I'm really grateful because of them.
My next question. What do you wish that people at Cabrini understood better about migration?
I would say people, well, you don't know their story, so just please like respect their past, I guess, and just think that they will not take your jobs. That's it.
I also think that it's important to understand that it's a struggle. A lot of people mention like the language barrier, and for a lot of us, like we're still learning. So sometimes if people like speak with an accent,
or mispronounce a word or something, it's important to understand where they're coming from and their background, and then maybe they're learning a new language, and then it could be hard to adapt and learn a new language is hard.
Please don't make fun of it.
So if anyone in the crowd would like to ask the panelists a question, you can do that now.
For the families that got parents that have the business, what are the businesses that your parents started or have?
You want to start? Okay, I'll start. My dad currently owns 2 IHOP restaurants, one in Philadelphia and one in New Jersey.
So for me, one of my uncles started like a fruit stand in Philly, and my other uncle started like a convenience store, like your groceries, stuff like that. My dad allowed them to get into like real estate, and then now they have like multiple properties located all around like Northeast, West Philly, North Philly, South Philly, and because of that, yeah. So just real estate and I guess food and produce. Yeah. Anyone else have another question?
So for the language barrier, since like none of your family like knew English coming over and all of you struggled with the language barrier, what were some things you guys did to like start learning the language if you didn't like know any of it? Like, how are you able to understand and learn?
So for us, and so I was in 5th grade, like I said, when I came here. So in schools, they have a program called ESL, English, a second language. Yeah. I was put in that for 2 years, and then they were like, oh, she's okay. Like, we had like more students who needs to learn English. So I was in that for 2 years, and like there, they will teach you like very basic, like greetings and like grammars, yeah, a few things like that. So that really helped me with like learning the language. But for my mom also went to English classes because she was struggling a lot. Because she had to start working to feed her family. She had 4 kids who were all in school, and she went to English classes, and I think that also. So and as she started working, she she started interacting with people. She started like. Put it broken English. She still now. I think she communicates with people, but like it's still a struggle for her. But she can't like it's far better than where we were at. So yeah.
Okay, for me, well, I learned English my whole life, but I never really speak it to people daily. So like I understand people, but I cannot speak it. I cannot like answer people, stuff like that. So the first time I came here, my mom told me to ask the person for a napkin, and I don't know how to say it. So I just like, excuse me, sir, can I get a tissue? Because that's what we said in Indonesian. And thank God the person understood that. So, but to learn more, I guess I watch a lot of TV shows, listen to music, stuff like that. Yeah.
And for me, it's basically the same thing. Like Prisha said, the ESL program in my school really helped with learning English. But for my parents, they don't know English, like until now. We've been here for like 5 years, and I feel that assimilation process for adults is way different because they've been like adapted to a whole different culture for their whole life. So coming to a new country and like learning a language is harder for them because they are not surrounded by the language completely. And usually for like Hispanic people, they surround themselves with like more Hispanic or like the culture. So I feel that for them it's like harder to learn the language.
For me, I started school like at a really young age. For my parents and like for my uncles, I guess like working at the the produce store, just talking to people. My dad, he knows like 5 languages just from working there. He knows Italian, English, Spanish, and for like the other 2 languages. But I would sometimes like he like, what you call it, he'll bump into like people with like, say for example, like an Italian person or like, I forgot what language, it's somewhere like, I don't know if it's Chinese or, I forgot what the other language, he'll bump into them, and then he'll start speaking the language, and I'll be like, I don't even know this language, right? But it's because of the job, you know, they just like try.
I'll add something really quick. So I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I had to like mature at such a young age because my mom didn't speak English and I was the youngest in the family and they thought like I picked up the language pretty quick. So doctor's appointment, I had to be there with my mom translating for her. Like the meals that we get home, I had to be the one like looking at it and translating it to my mom like this is what it is. All the school stuff that I do it, like my mom doesn't help me, like FAFSA and all the loan and stuff. I have to do, so like anything or anywhere that my mom goes, like where there is a Nepali language involved, I have to be there for her or my siblings. And I feel like I had to mature really quick, so I don't know for all of you, but yeah, at the age of 11, I was acting like an adult.
Is your name Gabriella with the cat? So you came over when you were 15. That's kind of an awkward age.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit of what it was like to come over as a teenager and having to, you know, probably the girls already had their cliques and everything, and how did you make friends? And talk a little bit about that.
Thankfully in Philly we have a pretty big Indonesian community, so I kind of like make friends with them first and then go around, and I went to a very, very, very diverse high school, so that helps me making friends.
Thank you. Can I get a twofer? So some of you, so America sometimes thinks of itself as kind of a Christian country, but some of you I know are not Christians. How do you feel about, do you feel welcome in general with regard to religious practices? And you know, we're coming up to Christmas where, you know, everybody's saying Christmas carols and everything. How do you feel about, you know, different religions like that?
I would say that growing up and being in a majority white high school, they didn't really teach like different religions and different cultures. They were always just like surrounded about what they celebrate and what they care about and like what matters to them, not really thinking like, oh, there's people who come from different places. But like at the same time, growing up, I didn't really celebrate all those American religions, not because I wasn't of that culture, but it's because religiously, like, we just don't celebrate them. So it wasn't really like a big difference for me whether I celebrate it or not. But it's just like the idea that they don't take into consideration that there's people who celebrate different cultures and different holidays.
I guess I'll go. So I'm Hindu, and there aren't much of Hindu population here, or like where I live. It's a struggle, like during our holidays. So I just celebrated Diwali in October, and when I ask my friends, I'm like, do you know what Diwali is? They're like, nope. And like for me, it's a big holiday. Like just for you guys, like Christmas is. That's how Diwali is, and it's like we dance and we sing and we celebrate too. But like for most of our neighbors, unless we like notify them, but like they can file a complaint or something like that, saying like, oh, late at night they were like making noises and all that. And that I'm like just trying to teach my friends or like tell my friends about the holiday. It's always a struggle. And just I miss my country a lot when like during the holidays, because we can never celebrate it like how we used to celebrate back home. Like back in Nepal and India, it's like wherever you're walking, like it's like a different aura, like a different vibe. But that like and obviously we celebrate our holidays and like our Diwali, and we have other festivals too, but we do celebrate it, but it's just it's not complete. That's how it feels. Even today, we're not surrounded by all of our families because they're all like, and we have to drive 8 hours to go see our uncles and like our it's not as fun as how it used to be.
For me, the Mexican culture is literally almost the same thing. The only difference, we don't celebrate, I mean, in Mexico they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but my family here, we do. Mother's Day is like a different day. I think it's like a couple days after or before, I forgot. Halloween, we call it just like a different, we call it the Day of the Dead. And that's literally, every other holiday we celebrate, like, same as America. So it's kind of like, we were already celebrating it, I mean, they were already celebrating it there, so it's just celebrating here the same way.
When you think about maybe uncomfortable, embarrassing, or, you know, maybe not so positive experiences you've had, you know, based on your identity as either a refugee or an immigrant, what are ways you could tell the community here about, you know, maybe etiquette or better ways to make you feel a sense of belonging or supported? What advice would you give, you know, basically people to be an ally and not make those mistakes, you know, to make you feel uncomfortable or make your situation worse?
Okay, I guess I'll go first. This might sound like cliche, but like the saying like don't judge a book by its cover. Like just because they look different, don't treat them different. Like actually get to know them for who they are on the inside, not so much as like how they look on the outside. Like if they have an accent or if they are different skin color, if they like celebrate something different than you, like try to educate yourself on that situation and like try to make them welcome into your friend group or into like the, I don't know, the atmosphere or whatever, but just try to make them feel included, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'll get. Just like what Leo said, just make them feel welcomed and comfortable with like their language. Like they're learning it. They came from a completely different country, like where some of us never even heard of English before, you know? And obviously like in here, majority of the people speak English and we feel obligated to speak English, and we do have to in like order to communicate with people. But in middle school and elementary school, I was made fun of so many times because I wasn't, I guess, pronouncing words correctly and because of my accent. And that happened in middle school and I still remember it, so that you take that with you forever. So I feel like if you have friends or like, I guess, families who are coming from a different country who doesn't speak English as well as you, please like don't make fun of them or like try to make them feel comfortable with like how they're saying things or like what they're speaking. So that's it for me.
And just when there's like cultural differences, to always try to have like an open-minded about it and be like, I guess, welcome to learn the new like cultures and not try to like understand where they're coming from and just have an open-minded about it.
This is a question probably for the panel and probably for the room. Do you think we are an inclusive community at Immigrant? Like, are people mixing their groups or are we in separate groups?
From my experience, I don't really like witness it. Like, I don't know, maybe because like my first year I was a commuter, but now I'm a resident, but I honestly don't really experience it. But I don't know, it's just my point of view. I'm not speaking for them, so it's just my point of view. So.
You don't experience the mixing or you don't experience?
Like, what you mean by the mixing? Like, do you mean by like people saying like, can you like explain more?
Like do you think Reading is like good on like inclusivity and like diversity? Like make people feel like
I think my fault. Never mind, I was answering something else.
Is it for the panelists or you said for the audience?
For anybody, yeah. I'm curious.
I don't think we're that like, I don't know, we have like a diversity office and all that, but I don't think we're that diverse. Like I don't see my race in here. When my freshman year, I literally didn't see anyone like who looked like me, and I was like, oh, like how am I gonna? And it's always that, like, how am I gonna make friends? Because you always relate to people who are like, you know, from your background. So, I mean, mean, yes, the school tries to make us feel inclusive and bring in more diversity, but I don't think we're as diverse. And that it could also be because like we're a smaller school, but I don't think so.
I say yes and no. I feel like without the school's help, you know, some friend groups on campus are diverse and mixed, and then some friend groups are like, you know, there's a white group of friends, there's a black group of friends, and they kind of just stay to themselves, you know, like none of them are mixing together. But then there are groups like mine, for example. Me and Tyreek are best friends. Marcus is in our friend group, and he's Hispanic. So there's a few friend groups that are like mixed, and then there's the ones that are to themselves. But that's without the
now that I
school.
can understand that I understand the question. I think I can answer it correctly. I visited other campuses, and compared to like other campuses in Cabrini is really like diverse. Like some other campuses literally don't even have like as many as like Hispanics Cabrini has, or like as many as like other cultures as we do. So I don't know if it's because like we're close to like Philly, or since like I don't know what it is, but in my opinion, I think Cabrini is really diverse.
I would agree and say that like, as far as the students go, like there is a diverse like group of people, but I feel like Cabrini can kind of do better in a sense of like having these kind of panels, having these kind of conversations, because like then you won't really be reaching out or like meeting people from different backgrounds if you don't like have these kind of discussions in a way. Like if you're just sticking to people that you know or sticking to people in your dorm, then like you're not gonna branch out and just meet new people if you like don't have these events or like conversations.
Oh, sorry. I guess I would say that if you look at the demographic of Cabrini, it's a majority of white students following black students and then Latinx. But it doesn't really expand much further than that. And I'm thinking like, we are a small school, but like the incorporation of multiple races, ethnicities is like also crucial to like making students comfortable. For example, I am Bolivian, I'm Latinx, yes, but I haven't really seen many other like Hispanic students here that I meshed with at all. But besides the point, like you don't see many Asians on campus, many other ethnicities essentially.
It sounds like numbers-wise, you must have lots of demographics represented thickly. How about the attitudes of things? Do you feel like this is a campus of prejudice, or is this a campus of welcome? It doesn't have to be either or, right? I think there's kind of Christian. The title of the event is Migration and Refuge. Is this a place of refuge for people, or is this a place where people stick out like a sore thumb?
Well, I guess I would say I don't feel uncomfortable in Cabrini, and I don't feel like that's like an overlying message in Cabrini. I feel like people here, if you have a conversation with somebody, they're generally accepting. You have a nice conversation with people like here at Cabrini, but at the same time, I feel like Cabrini could do like like they were stating, could do a better job of just reaching and going to other people and maybe having us have these conversations, because everybody here could be great, but I don't know.
I would say I think it's a learning experience, because like you don't know people's backgrounds, so you're also being informed, but people are ignorant but not on purpose. So I know me and Tristan have different backgrounds, but he also asked me questions of why stuff like this happens, or why this is a certain way. So I think it's a learning experience for both people, for both sides. But you have people that's just ignorant to the point where they don't want to know, and people who's ignorant because they don't know. So it's a learning experience.
Yeah, because like I feel like we're really not taught about this kind of topics in schools either, and it's like even when we're having dinner or something, where this kind of topics never come into play. So I feel like even in college, we really don't know about, like, a lot of people, they don't even know what, like, refugee and immigrants are. Even, like, yes, we're in college, we're, like, 19, 20 years old, but we don't know what these topics are. So I feel like Tyree said, they're not being ignorant purposely, but, like, yeah, we could do more to educate and, like, advocate for, yeah.
And adding on to what Tyree said about the whole, and what other people have said about having that conversation, like Cabrini having these conversations, I feel as though, you know, in high school, we hear about the division between, like, white and black and white and Latinx, or the divisions between races, and I think that builds up an uncomfortability for me, for example. At first, when Tyreek and I were friends, I was kind of uncomfortable to ask him certain questions, but then I started asking questions, and it lowered my comfortability. Like, I got more comfortable with it, and I think that that's something that these types of conversations could help out with, is making people feel comfortable asking those harder questions, making people comfortable to learning about these issues. And so yeah, I think that that's something Cabrini could really work on, is just having more of these like conversations and panels.
Okay, this is kind of a question. So one of my friends is really involved in BSU, and I went to one of her events, and she, like, afterwards in, like, a class, she was like, thank you so much for going. Like, I never know who thinks what about me. Like, I never know what people believe and how that's going to affect me. So I guess for, like, our panelists, like, do you resonate with that? Like, do you have, like, a fear of, like, what people are thinking of you, like, on our campus even? Like, because, like, we all know our political climate, and, like, everything is so tense when, like, really, like, we're talking about, like, we're all here, like, as a family. So, like, how do you, like, resonate with, like, are you concerned about, like, what other people are thinking about you, or, like, do you feel welcome here?
I guess I'll start. I've always had a sense, I guess it kind of started in high school, that, like, I didn't belong because of where I came from, and, like, that I looked different, or, like, I spoke different or whatever. But I think it kind of also, like, happened when I came to college, because I didn't, like, it's a whole different atmosphere in college. So, like, you're just like, okay, well, I'm starting this whole journey where I'm meeting new people, like, what are they gonna think of me? Am I gonna make friends? Like, I'm, like, come from a different background, come from, like, different religious purposes and everything. So, but I would say, like, especially with the communication learning community, like the LCs, I just kind of became more comfortable, because, like, I met Tristan and Tyreek through that, and, like, we kind of clicked pretty easily, because, like, we were all just kind of open to learning about one another, and, like, having those conversations of, like, where'd you come from, or, like, what's your background, just sharing our stories. So I think more people need to, like, just be open to sharing their stories and learning about each other.
Like for me, I think I'm just overthinking things, but I went to a very diverse high school, so I feel like everyone have accents. So when I came here, everyone speak like American accent, and I'm like, do I like belong here? But I guess it's just me overthinking things, but now I'm just like, I don't care. I just speak whatever.
So the people that have, like, encountered it, I feel like they're very welcoming, but it's just me who's, like, always afraid to, like, I guess make friends of, like, certain breeds. Obviously I still have, like, an accent and stuff like that, and Rachel said, like, do you feel like people look at you? Yes, I do. I do feel like people look at me in a certain way, but it could just be me, you know? Like, yeah, I feel like that is always gonna stay with me. It's, like, it's just the mindset that's, like, oh, like, my accent, or, like, I don't know what I'm talking about. So stuff like that. But I think, like, the students here are very welcoming. I mean, the friends that I have made, or, like, the people that I've talked to before in the past, I think they're pretty welcoming. So I would say yes.
I would have to agree. I think, like, even though I did make, like, a good group of friends, like, in high school and, like, college and stuff, like, I kind of would agree. It's also, like, a self-conscious thing. Like, even though, like, you might not, like, people might not be acting a certain way towards you, but, like, internally you just feel like how how do they perceive what I'm doing, if that makes sense.
I have another question. So, you know how you guys have said that there's a look you get, or like there's a look you can see that people give you, and it makes you feel like they're judging you, correct?
Yeah.
Are there times where like you see other people of that same race who look at you, but you don't see that same look, like that judgmental look, or do you feel like you see it all the time from that same race? Or is it hard to distinguish, like if they're giving you that look or not?
Well, like the previous questioner, what are things that people can do to show that they are welcome? Right? Like you went to that event. What are things that people can do to do the opposite of that look?
Yeah.
Actually, could I answer questions? So I'm not like part of the panel, but I am part of CRS, and like going off of what Christian said when he said you feel that look from like people in your own race. I think sometimes you do, because I grew up like in a predominantly white school, and I did not look like any of them. I didn't sound like any of them. I didn't lose my accent until a lot later on. But I think when you lose it, you also kind of lose like part of like where you came from. So then you lose like your Spanish, but then you lose your English. And I'm like not trying to speak for anyone else, but like then you're too white to be Mexican when you go back to Mexico, but you're too Mexican to be white when you're back in school here. So you're kind of always confused, just like, okay, so what do I do? Or where do I go from here?
Yeah, I can relate too. Literally, whenever I'm around with like my family or like other Mexicans, they're like, dude, you're like a gringo, like a white Mexican. And I'm like, it's cause like my Spanish growing up, like, you know, when I was little, my Spanish was good. Now it's like the opposite. My English is good, but my Spanish is like horrible. So, I can relate to Jamie, literally the same thing.
We're running low on time. Anybody's got a question? Or is somebody?
Leia wanted me to repeat the question.
Okay.
So I said, are you able to distinguish like when someone, like say someone who's white is giving you the look, right? The look that makes you feel like they're judging you. And then you see someone else who's white, but they're not judging you, but they're still like looking at you. You know, like people just pass by and look at you. But is it easy for you to distinguish when someone's judging you and giving you that look, or is it hard to distinguish between one person and the next person and the next?
I think it would depend on how you know the person. Like, most of my friends from high school were white. So, like, I don't know, like, I think when you connect with somebody, like, at a younger age, you don't feel that, like, judginess, but, like, then when you come to, like, a new setting, and you're, like, around people who all look the same, but, like, you don't look like them, you kind of feel, like, a little out of place, like, you kind of feel like someone's giving you, like, a side eye, like, why is she here, or, like, what are they doing there, like, she doesn't belong, or something, like, it's not, like, verbally, but you just kind of have, like, an awkward sense. Maybe they're not feeling that way, and maybe they're not judging you, but you just kind of, like, I don't know, it's, like, internal.
Yeah,
It's not
so
fun to feel that way, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
So I ran cross country in high school, and everyone in my team were white, and it was because I went to a white school, and I was the only like Asian person in the team, and I felt like most of the parents, like I was friends with all the girls and the guys, but I felt like a lot of parents weren't like, they would give me that look, and like I said, it could just be me like feeling that way. But sometimes I would feel uncomfortable because we would get like invited to the parties and stuff like that the coaches have hosted or whatever. But sometimes I would feel uncomfortable being around like some of the parents because I always felt like I didn't belong there. But yeah.
So then to add on to what Ray was saying, like what are some things that people can do to like not make you feel like they're judging, to show you that they're not judging you, like to show you that like, you know, they're open to learning more about you and, you know, truly caring about you as a person and not what you look like as a person?
I don't know, just like don't get that look. I don't know how to I'm just gonna speak based off of like my sister-in-law. She came here as an illegal immigrant and she got married to my brother and now she's a citizen. But she came here not knowing any English when she was 14 and she had to go to high school and she had to translate all of her homework into Spanish and then translate it back into English. And she said something that like helped her the most with going to a new school and not knowing anyone and like being different from everyone, because my school mostly white, but she said just literally just saying hi to people, and I think that goes for just life, just like being hello, like saying hello, like even if you know someone, or just smiling at someone. I feel like that just like makes everyone feel welcome.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Just don't shy away from somebody. Like, just be open to like meeting new people, just making those connections.
So I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna answer your question and then make a comment. So how to make, people feel like they belong. I think it's, a lot of your questions really show an interest in trying to, understand and really learn, and I love that. And it's great. A lot of people don't even take that first step. But so I think that's the first step. But the second thing, a lot of times people ask, a person of a diverse identity, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do? And a lot of times people of color and people that have different experiences have the onus of the burden of existing with the challenges, and then the onus of then teaching other people. And that is a lot. So one piece of advice I give to people when they're trying to learn, how to interact with people and really, give them a sense of belonging and get, delete the ignorance is research. You literally with our technology today, I've learned so many things. There's so many terms I used to not know, like microaggressions. A lot of times people who are not cultured accidentally, or like you said earlier, ignorantly do things and they just don't know. You can literally go to, look up stuff on the internet. You can also come to the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, which I'm a representative of. We are on the first floor of Widener, and we would love to have you and teach you about all these things, no matter who you are. We're welcome to everybody. And so that makes me transition to my second plug. Earlier, a couple students were talking about events like these that bring students together for these discussions and are focused on unity. So if you want to see me on your way out, I have a bunch of flyers. There's an event tomorrow. You might have heard that Tony Enos is coming. He's a really diverse representative. His message is all about love and unity. And so it's at 6 p.m. tomorrow, and a lot of this, continuation of this type of discussion will be in his message. And he's also a musician, a performance. It's the last day of a Native American Heritage Month. He's a member of the LGBTQ+ community, and tomorrow's World AIDS Day, and he's had to suffer with that. So he's just a very diverse person. And it will continue conversations like this. So come see me on your way out. I hope that was helpful to answer your question.
Jasmine Green.
Oh, Jasmine, yeah, I'm Jasmine Green.
I know we're close to the end, and I know Lisa has to say some more, but I would really not want to leave tonight without talking about some of the legal aspects of immigration. So do any of you have something that you wanted to share that people should understand about the legal aspects of the United States laws regarding immigration?
Legal?
Like laws.
Okay.
Like, do you know what you or your parents had to go through to get here? You want to talk about citizenship or DACA or anything?
I guess I could start. A huge process for us to come here. A lot of like medical stuff that we had to do. A lot of paperwork. Because obviously no one would let us like be in this country without getting to know us. It was like a process. I think the process took us about a year. For some people, it varies. For some people, it took like 2 years. It depends on like, obviously it depends on like if they were in like prison and like the past and all that plays a huge like role. But like getting the citizenship, I became a citizen because my mom was a citizen and I was like I was under 18 at that time, so I automatically became a citizen. That's how it works. So if one of your parents become a citizen and you're under the age of 18, then you automatically become one. So that's what happened to me. But my mom had to go through this interview where she has to like know, I think it's like 100 questions. she would not let us like watch TV for like good 4 months. She would always have those questions on TV, and she would like review them every single day after work. I don't even know, like if you go ask her like one of the questions, she'll give you an answer like right off the bat. But yeah, you had to know. They would only ask you 10 questions, but you had to like know all 100 because you never know which questions they're gonna ask. And I think you have to get like 6 out of 10 right in order to pass the exam. And there's like a written and like speaking and something else. But so that's how the process is. And then like you go for an oath, and that's like the good stuff. So
I think what she's talking about is like when you like literally are getting your citizenship,
Like
like
your
literally when you
naturalization
already
process.
have like you've been accepted. That's like right, like not accepted, but like literally like almost there, like maybe like 2 steps, 1 step, right? You're
yeah, I'm talking about the naturalization process. If
Yeah,
that
because
makes
I
sense.
also know that like other countries, say for example, I don't know, what is it, Honduras, or say for example, if you're across the border and you already crossed the border and you have a kid, the United States like offers asylum to like automatically, like as soon as you cross the border, you get like you like on your path to citizenship. But if you come from like other countries, you have to have like a reason on why they like you want your citizenship, and like that could take like 10 years, 20 years. It's like a long process. There's also like Daca, which is like for kids who came like at really young age, like the kids that like had no choice like of coming. It was because like their parents like basically brought them here. And which Daca does is it gives students like what you call it? It gives them a social security number that allows them to basically attend high school, what you call it? Apply for jobs legally, do taxes legally, get your license legally. Basically live in the United States legally, but the only thing you can't do is like go back to the country. But there's like literally like a lot of ways you can get your it is hard, but there is ways. My parents, my parents and my uncles, they applied through basically saying that they were fleeing the country because of they were being what you call it? They were being harmed in Mexico. That's what their way was saying. But there's also like Pooja was saying, if you come in as if both your parents are citizenships and you're under the age of 18, you automatically become a citizenship. Yeah, but it's hard, but there's also like a lot of ways you can become a citizenship too. Yeah. And there's so many questions too. There's so many, like the citizen test, she was saying there's so many questions. You gotta know every single question. You never know like what question you get asked on the test. It's a long process. The United States makes it like really extremely hard. Like, I understand why. Like, I understand why. It should be hard, but
Maybe not
not
hard.
hard. But I'm saying like the part like they do it because like they're trying to keep like the United States safe, but it's really hard. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's really hard. Came out wrong, but.
No, there's several things to ask.
I just have an observation. The love that you all have for your parents comes through so strongly. They must have loved you very much to bring you to help you have a better future. And I hope I get to meet them maybe at graduation and thank them for bringing the great gift of you five to our university. So thank you very much.
Thank you panelists for sharing your stories with us. I'm glad that the panelists had the courage to share their stories because some had traumatic experiences or struggles that they might have still be going through. Language barriers and culture barriers make it difficult to emerge in a new place, but at the same time by not losing your identity. I also want to restate again, just be open to learn and educate yourself about the different cultures. I know that Pooja does tell me about her culture, so I enjoy that and I thank her for doing that. We asked if you could consider supporting these Afghan refugees in their time of need by donating to Cabrini Clothing Drive, the boxes around the campus, support to one of the two organizations, Nationality Service Center or the Catholic Social Services. Lastly, if you're interested in advocating for these global justice issues, please join CRS. We meet every Tuesday from 6 to 7. Thank you all for coming.
Yes, join CRS. You get to meet amazing people like us there.
Also, if anyone wants to donate to the clothing drive, there's a few flyers on the table right in the front by the podium. If you want to just grab one for, yes. You're good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.